Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, the show that brings you weekly advice and news at the beginning of every weekend. Introducing first your hosts, Mack, Mark, and Landon. We are back for the second time this weekend, but the first that you're hearing. It is episode 47 of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Landon and Matt coming to you today on a Sunday. Full transparency here. We had an episode ready to rock on Saturday morning. We had recorded myself, Landon, and Mark, and rookie me made a big mistake and forgot to plug my mic in, and basically I was recording from my computer, and it just sounded horrendous, and I just didn't want to put that out for you guys. So Landon and I are re-recording, doing another mock draft, but we are doing a PPR mock draft today on Sunday, April 7th, and no Mark, but that is totally my fault. But nonetheless, Landon, what's been going on, buddy? How's your weekend been so far?
My weekend's been good. I've been working all weekend, slinging those pies and pastas. I'm making some killer money, though. I'm super psyched about it. I'm going to save up for that driver shaft. I pretty much just have enough now to just buy it outright and see if I can get a cash deal, brother.
Woo. Yeah, but, a week from today, we're going to be watching the Masters final round coverage.
Baby, I love the Masters. It's my favorite week of the year.
Tiger's going to win that 15th major. Book it.
That would be amazing. I would love if Tiger won. Obviously a big Tiger fan. I did do a couple DraftKings lineups already for the Masters. Tiger's not in one of those lineups, but I do. I'm always cheering for T. Gray. You know that.
Aggressive, but I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm got to get in that DraftKings mode. But yeah, man, I'm feeling good. The sun is shining. Loving life. We're going to do a mock draft today. We got some really cool episodes coming up. Some good ideas. I'm interviewing a guy from Sleeper, the Sleeper app, trying to get some more details on the platform, kind of how they became. So for that app in general, they have to fight against the big guys like Yahoo and ESPN. Mm-hmm. And I think they're really gaining a lot of ground as a dynasty platform, as a news platform. So hopefully I'll have some more information for our listeners to see if they're interested. And a lot of good content coming out. I'm going to do a write-up on the second round NFL draft. You did a really good write-up this past week about the first round predictions, and I'm going to head into the second round a little bit deeper. I tried to make it as much fantasy relevance as I could. I kind of had to squeeze in a couple extra players that I could see go early, so we'll see how it works.
Mm-hmm. If you want to stay in touch with the show, you can do so on Instagram at Saturday Morning Snap. You can also get us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy, and you can get Landon and Mark at Landon_SMS and Mark Draft SMS. So wherever you guys are and however you're listening to us, we appreciate you being here with us on a Sunday. We know it's not the typical upload schedule for us, but again, totally my fault, and hopefully it won't happen again, but we're human. So we're going to clear up a couple.
I would have expected that mistake 9 months ago, Mac.
Yeah, I know.
But come on.
we're nearing seasoned veteranship here and making a rookie mistake.
Just bugging. We're good.
Yeah. Couple news items to clear up, and then we'll head right into our 12-team PPR mock draft, where Landon and I are going to go head-to-head, switch it up a little bit from what we had thought to do, but we'll get into that in a bit. So news items up on the docket here. Raiders sign Ryan Grant. It's old news now, but a 1-year prove-it deal for him worth up to $2.5 million. So he could earn maximum 2.5 mil. They haven't set his baseline, but with incentives and bonus, it could be a decent year for him. A far cry from the 4-year, $29 million deal that he had with the Ravens last year that fell through. But Ryan Grant, how do you assess his value, Landon? Is he worth stashing in Dynasty, or would you want to have him on your redraft team, or is it just time to sort of move on?
I think it's time to move on. I don't think he's fantasy relevant at all. I know a couple years ago he was an interesting pick, but even in Baltimore, I don't think he would have been fantasy relevant. Just with how that offense worked out last year. But I mean, the Raiders' offense should be better, right? And I just think now he's going to be a tertiary option, and I don't think he's going to get the volume to really show the talent he does have.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Raiders also, we talked about this a little bit off mic, but the Raiders are working out only 2 quarterbacks exclusively, and that's Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins. They have the 4th overall pick. So what does this mean for the Raiders, for Derek Carr, for the future of the franchise? Do you see the Raiders potentially moving up to get one of these guys, or do you think that they could pull the trigger on Haskins? What do you see sort of playing out here?
Yeah, I don't. I think they're looking for a Khalil Mack replacement. I think they've got some... Obviously, the Antonio Brown connection with Derek Carr, everyone's all happy. It's the offseason, kind of in a honeymoon phase with that offense. But I think they're just doing their due diligence. They're trying to see if one of these 2 top guys are worth it at their number 4 pick. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think maybe they could take a quarterback, and they've got an abundance of picks. So if they do want a successor to Derek Carr, I think they could take it in the later rounds. I guess the problem is that they're not working them out personally, as far as we know. So
right, I could potentially see the Giants trading with the Jets, moving up to 3 and taking Haskins there. But if the Giants don't do that, I think they actually might grab Haskins at 4. And I don't have it projected that way, but I think it is a possibility. And maybe not a Derek Carr replacement, but maybe a Derek Carr motivator.
Sure. We've seen that work, obviously, in the past. And there's so much talent there at the top with Haskins and Murray. You never know. They do have the firepower, and they do have the picks to move up to the number 1 slot to take the Arizona Cardinals' first pick, which I believe we're all projecting to be Kyler Murray. I think as it stands now, everyone in the media and on Twitter, draft Twitter, thinks the Cards are going to take Kyler Murray. I think there's a chance. There's a possibility that it's just a smokescreen, and they're going to try to get as many picks as possible and keep Rosen and just try to build a team around Rosen, what they saw last year. There's a minute chance.
I think Rosen's totally fine. I think he was just put in a position to fail last year. The whole season wasn't really a true representation of what he could potentially do, but a lot of people see it as a Josh Rosen failure.
Totally agree. And I think it would be smart. I don't know. I'm kind of torn both ways. I think it'd be smart for the Cardinals as an organization to just get as many picks as possible this year and really bolster their O-line and their defense and build the team around what would have been probably a 2nd overall quarterback this year if Rosen would have stayed in college. Him and Haskins, I think, would be back to back. So, but just the allure of Kyler Murray, we've all seen it. We've all seen those plays where he looks like he's dead in the water, sacked, and then he escapes and throws a touchdown. He's an incredible athlete. And we know that the draft stock of David Johnson would skyrocket if Kyler Murray does go to that team. It just makes the offense that much more dynamic and powerful.
I'm not sure about skyrocket, but maybe a little bit of a boost.
I think for me it would allure me quite a bit to DJ.
He might be on the fringe first round pick, but I think last year probably scared too many people off of David Johnson or just the Cardinals in general.
Yeah.
Report from Roto World on Twitter. Houston, Philly, and the New York Jets have inquired about the services of Duke Johnson Jr., pass-catching running back extraordinaire. Do you think that there's any sort of potential opportunity for him with either of these 3 teams, or do you think he stays in Cleveland?
Well, I don't think Cleveland wants to trade him, but he did request a trade. I think he's one of the only guys in Cleveland looking to get out, with draft Twitter and NFL Twitter going nuts about championship aspirations for the Browns. But I totally get it on Duke's perspective. He wants to be that guy. He wants to catch those balls. And with the signing of Kareem Hunt and the emergence last year of Chubb, he doesn't really see see a fit for him there. So what's your best? I think that the Browns could trade him. I think they should and get more draft picks. Why not?
They just came out this morning and said that Nick Chubb will be the starter over Kareem Hunt. Thanks for affirming everything that we already knew.
Shocker.
Yeah, Cleveland. I mean, for those of you living under a rock, Kareem Hunt suspended 8 games. So we're not going to see him till week 9. And I seriously doubt that he'll eat into Nick Chubb's workload unless he's horrendously bad. But I don't know. Where is the best place for Duke Johnson? It's tough. I mean, probably. I think most people would say Houston
for sure.
I don't think he would be horrible in Philly either. I mean, Jordan Howard is their feature back now, and we both know that Jordan Howard is not a pass catching back. He really can't catch much. And so when you look at Wendell Smallwood or the other pass catching backs they have in that lineup, I think Duke Johnson would be finding himself ahead of those guys.
For sure.
I do believe Alfred Blue out of Houston, Lamar Miller aging. Duke Johnson could see a decent workload in Houston, although I wouldn't be particularly excited about him either way. I don't think either of these 3 options dramatically change the way that I feel about Duke Johnson going into this year.
Yeah. Philly just has so many mediocre running backs behind Jordan Howard. Absolutely. If they got rid of half of them, most of them, Smallwood and all these guys, Josh Adams, they could do a pretty good 1-2 punch with Duke Johnson, but the reality is they have them all, so there's no need for Duke Johnson in there. It would just be such a mess with everyone in that backfield.
Yep. Last piece of news, Jordy Nelson is seeking a 1-day contract with the Green Bay Packers, considering a Packer reunion in order to retire. Some people have speculated that he wants to play another season in Green Bay. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's in the best interest of the team. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers would love to have him back, but I think Green Bay is past the Jordy era. So I think a 1-day sign and retire would be super fitting for a guy that gave his heart and soul to that team. And so I hope that it happens. But I'm going to say that there's little to no chance that he plays another season. I think he's done.
No, do you think he goes to like an advisory role with the Packers, coaching like some kind of wide receiver coach? Do you think that's a possibility for Jordy?
Yeah. Tough
I know he
to
still
say.
kind of wants to play. There's just not really a spot for him in today's NFL.
No. Tough to say. I don't see anything right out of the gate for him, but potentially,
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't really want to touch on the AAF being abolished, but basically the American Alliance folded their season after 8 games, never got to the playoffs. So all of those contracts are null and void, and those players can now seek NFL employment if they are of caliber, or teams are of interest in those players. So no real headline there, but that's sort of back on the table for some of those players that decided to take that avenue.
You are seeing some of the players that Sean briefly getting signed to NFL teams, so which is nice to see.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of breezes through the news. There's not a whole lot going on, and there are some stories that we're choosing not to comment on. Never really want to talk about players in the spotlight for negative reasons, so we're going to choose not to sort of highlight those key pieces and focus on the ones that give us a little bit more excitement instead of sort of dwelling on things. But we got a mock draft. Should be pretty good. Landon is going to take the back end. I'm going to take the front end. And so we're going to do a 12-team PPR full point mock draft and, see what we can do. We are drafting on Sleeper. We are going to live record this. And so if you do want to follow along with us, you can do so on YouTube. You can jump over there. We're just starting to get some content out on the channel. And you guys can follow along and see sort of how we went through the draft, and hopefully it's a new piece of content that you enjoy. So we're going to jump into our sleeper mock draft. I'm going to take the 4th overall spot. Landon's going to take the 9th. So you get a little bit of opposite feels here. At the 4th spot, I think it's really important to get yourself in a PPR draft, one of those stud running backs that is involved in the passing and running game. And for me, those guys would be Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and we've seen Zeke sort of get up there this year in comparisons to previous years. But for me, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins, Todd Gurley going off the boards, this is a no-brainer for me. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey with the 4th overall pick. And, most people probably go Zeke here in a full point league. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey. And funny enough, we sort of talked about this last episode, but it never got out to you guys. The difference between Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley last year was only 0.3 points in a full point league, just because Christian McCaffrey had 107 receptions and 13 total touchdowns. So he was just an absolute PPR monster.
Yeah, and at this spot, Devontae Adams is at the top of the draft board for me. However, I'm going to go running back just because I'm looking at the turn here, and there's a lot of really good wide receivers. Julio Jones, Juju, Mike Evans. So I'm between Joe Mixon and Melvin Gordon, and I prefer the offense in LA, so I'm going to go Melvin Gordon. I like him at the end of the first round. And I was really hoping for Julio Jones to come on the turn. But so here I have Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, and David Johnson. All those wide receivers went off the board, and you might see that in a PPR draft. So I'm going to go Dalvin Cook there. It's really close
when you see a
David
run
Johnson.
of wide receivers like that, like Devontae Adams, Juju, Mike Evans, Tyreek, Julio, do you think it's good to sort of pivot to running back just so you're not getting the tail end of that run? Or, how do you view that?
Yeah, just take value where you can, I think, and that's what you have to do. Let the draft flow. Don't have a firm idea of what you're going to select. Whether it's running back, wide receiver, you have to do that, or wide receiver, running back, or whatever it is on a PPR. Let it come and let the value. I think Dalvin Cook's.
I'm not huge at
value.
Stephon Diggs in the back end of the second. I would love to go Keenan Allen here. But I think I'm going to go David Johnson, start running back, go strong, see what falls to me at wide receiver. Keenan would have been great.
Keenan would have been
and
really nice.
I've got James Conner sitting here for me. It's tough not to take the best player, and I know that James Conner is going to be the best player in this situation. I could pivot and go George Kittle at tight end. We've talked about the ramifications of going early at tight end. If I go James Conner here, I am really locking up some serious running back depth and value. They all have different bye weeks. So that's really, really nice for me. I think I'm just going to go James Conner, take the best player available. Lets me be open to trades if I need to trade a stud running back for a stud wide receiver. But I feel pretty good in having those 3 studs to start. It's not the way that I really drew it up or wanted to do it, but I'm happy having those 3.
Yeah, so we have 2 tight ends off the board, and Travis Kelce and George Kittle. I'm in kind of a nice spot where Zach Ertz is still on the board, and I feel like getting that top tier tight end really does help me out. And I have a difference maker at the position.
I was thinking
about Brandon Cooks, and he ended up, and he's back. He got back to me. There's a run of running backs. It just, because of what happened on the with the teams around me, going heavy wide receiver early, they felt like they needed.
Yeah, and had it gone the other way, Zach Ertz in the 4th is not horrendous. I think that's maybe a good spot to take him. coming to me, Robert Woods is available, and I think I have to take. I need to get a wide receiver, and I'm happy to have Robert Woods on the team. Good thing Cooper Kupp went. That would have been too tempting. Aaron Rodgers falling. You're going to see him in the 5th round, more than likely. I'm really considering Jarvis Landry here. Devonta Freeman is enticing as well. I need to go wide receiver. There are a couple wide receivers on the board still. Tyler Boyd is a nice piece, but I'm going to go Jarvis. I think that Cleveland offense is going to be pretty strong. Lots to go around. Baker looked great last year. Odell might sort of help to take some of that attention away from Jarvis. So Woods, Landry, not the greatest 1-2 pair, but I think behind those 3 running backs, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, and for some reason, Kareem Hunt is still number 1 on the draft board. Aaron Rodgers is still available, Mike Williams, but I'm going to go with a 3rd running back with Devonta Freeman. I think that's really good value in the 5th round.
Yeah, I don't foresee him being there come draft time in August, but it's nice that you're getting him there now.
Yeah, and right now I can go. See, the problem is I only have Brandon Cooks, and I do need some. I'm going through need now. I need some wide receiver help. I'm looking pretty good. I'm not going to go quarterback quite yet. Will Fuller's at the top of the list. I'm a little bit concerned with his injury history, so Tyler Boyd would be a pretty good number 2 wide receiver for me. So he showed what he did last year. I'm going to stick with
I would
Boyd.
agree.
Alshon for me would have been really nice with that. Just the volume in our PPR league was great, but
funny that Rashad Penny is going ahead of Chris Carson because that has not been the news.
The hype around. I mean, he's a 1st-round pick, right? And people are hoping, I suppose, that Penny will get the workload, even though the news is saying that Carson is the number 1 guy there.
I desperately want to go. I want to go another running back. I'm not sure if it's the play. Chris Carson or Damian Williams would be probably great here. Sammy Watkins is interesting with the chance that Tyreek Hill is suspended. But I think I'm going to go with best player available. And to me, that's Damian Williams. In a good Chiefs system, I think I got to grab him.
There's a lot of really good values out running back mid-rounds.
So I've got Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, James Conner, Damian Williams at running back with Robert Woods, Jarvis Landry. On the board right now, I've got Christian Kirk, Dante Pettis, Doug Baldwin, Robbie Anderson to choose from. The only tight end I might have considered would have been Hunter Henry there, and he's gone. So I'm going to have to wait on tight end. I didn't want to take Hunter that early. 6th round is a little bit too early for me. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Dante Pettis. I do feel good about that San Francisco team. Jimmy Garoppolo coming back. They've got a slew of running backs. Dante Pettis looked good last year. I'm gonna go with Dante Pettis as my sort of not a flyer piece, but you're getting a little bit risky with him. But 7th round, not too bad for Pettis.
Absolutely, and I am thrilled that Robbie Anderson got back to me. I'm a big Robbie Anderson fan. I think that offense will take a step or 2 forward this year with the addition of Le'Veon Bell, Sam Darnold taking a step forward, hopefully as well. And I think he's a good option. He's a high flyer. You've seen the big breakout games.
What do you think about the Jets' new uniforms?
And so. They look like, if anyone watches the CFL, the Rough Riders uniform. I was never a big fan. I know people are really liking them, especially the helmets, but I don't like that color green. I wish they would have went with a different, maybe stick with what they're doing now with the darker green. So I'm here, and I'm gonna go with Marvin Jones as another wide receiver. So I kind of went on a little bit of a wide receiver tear. Trying to build up that depth. I'll probably look out running backs coming forward. There's some decent, interesting options now coming into the 9th. Ninth round.
Oh,
Who are you looking at?
yeah.
Let's let me in on your brain here. You have an interesting draft board going. So
so Trey Burton's available, top tight end. I don't like Burton. I felt bad drafting him last year, and it turned out to be my suspicions came true. I'm not going defense because you should go kicker defense your last 2 picks. I've got the New York Giant receivers in Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard available. There's a case to be made for both of them. I'm not as high on Kiki QT as other people. So who do I like better, Sterling or Tate? I'm going to go with Sterling Shepard.
And I tend to agree with that sentiment. He had some really good games when Odell Beckham was out.
And I think a big part of that was Evan Ingram being there too. And I just, I don't know. I'm not, the Giants don't give me the warm and fuzzies.
Definitely not. Do you project Sterling to go to the outside and take over what Odell Beckham did, and Golden Tate would stay in the slot where he's produced so well?
I think that is the
over
way
his
that
career.
It shakes out ultimately. Peaking at quarterback here, it would be nice to pair or do a little bit of a stack. I'm just peeking Matt Ryan, Jimmy, Jameis, Drew. I could go... Oh, man. I don't like this. I'm going to stack. I'm going to go Jimmy Garoppolo, stack with Pettis. I might not have that stack every single week, but at least it's there. I'll probably get Big Ben maybe later too.
Right.
It's kind of a really dry spot in the draft. I don't really love the 9th or 10th round, and I think that's why we're looking at sort of tight end and quarterback there, because you can't really make too many poor decisions with quarterback, just because you stream most of them if you don't get those top tier guys anyways.
Yeah. I'm probably looking at running back. I'm going to go with Duke Johnson, not knowing his future. He is a pass-catching running back, and wherever he lands, I think he'll be used fairly well. And because I did that, no quarterbacks, or just Dak Prescott went off the board, and I wasn't even looking at him. So I'm going to go with Jameis, famous Jameis here, and get my quarterback locked up. I've always been a big fan. Listeners would know we're a big fan of Jameis Winston this offseason.
And you're starting to see more and more quarterbacks go. Since I picked Trubisky, Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson. So a decent run. Drew Brees, Matt Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady still available, along with a couple rookies. So
you might as well wait
for
now.
Another quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. Right? I think I'm going to jump in on tight end though, and to me it's between Austin Hooper and OJ Howard. Going by our rankings that we did a couple weeks ago, I'm going to go OJ Howard and just secure him. Not to say that anything could happen the next couple rounds or the next couple picks, but I'm just going to get him on my team, secure that, and maybe I'll take a shot. Oh, Julian Edelman's still available, which I don't know why he's being drafted in the 11th round.
That's broken. That's a part of Sleeper
I think an
that's
update
broken.
to the ADP needs to be done, because you've got Larry Fitzgerald and Julian Edelman both still available in the later rounds, and I think a lot of people would take those players over guys like Devontae Parker or James Washington or N'Keal Harry or Andy Isabella. So I'm going to go Edelman. I'm exploiting a sort of not updated area of the draft, but it's fine. I like it.
Yeah. I might where do I need the most depth on my team? I could probably use another running back. At this point, I'm looking at maybe some rookies, but we don't know where they're going to land. So I'm going to stay away from rookies in this draft. I might go depth at tight end, Austin Hooper. But he's not really like a boom play. He's not a guy that gives me upside. And in the 11th round, I'm just looking for mostly upside. Devin Funchess in Indianapolis is kind of nice. he'll give me some touchdown upside. I know I'm not the biggest Devin Funchess fan, but he'll always be fine with
Yeah.
with Andrew Luck. You want to get players on good offenses, in Indianapolis
Not
is
only a good offense, but
So-
with an elite level quarterback. There's a huge difference there.
Yeah. So going for an upside tight end here, I'm going to go Vance
Nice.
McDonald. With obviously Jesse James is gone. Obviously, we know that Antonio Brown is gone. Why not get a guy that could be a red zone presence again? That's my logic for my last two picks is Funchess and McDonald.
And for me, I've got 2 picks left until we have to go kicker defense. I'm probably gonna go like a flyer wide receiver. I'm pretty solid at running back. I got 4 starters, all of which could have great years.
Do you like Traquan?
I don't. I think I'd rather take the shot on DK Metcalf potentially. Or I could go with old man Larry Fitzgerald. I think I'm gonna go DK. Just get a little bit of youth upside. Hoping Big Ben maybe comes back to me so I can get that stack, which he did, and just making sure my quarterbacks are not on the same bye weeks. Garoppolo 11, Roethlisberger 7. I'll go Big Ben to stack with James Conner. Hopefully get some PPR points on that, and
if I also do double stack with the quarterback getting 2. Matt Stafford has dropped so far. That offense has to get better. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
Yeah, I like.
Why not go Matt Stafford? If he sucks and he's terrible, I can drop him. He's my 13th round pick. So
funny. Jesse James is going undrafted, although finding himself now in a starting role over Luke Wilson in Detroit.
Right. Yeah.
Do they?
I think people are thinking Detroit might take
Chris Thompson
a tight
listed
end.
as a wide receiver. As they do.
Do they? Chris Thompson, because he was kind of both, wasn't he?
Debatably. Yeah. So one thing I was going to mention about the kicker defense spots. Really, I would argue that it doesn't matter. You're probably going to be able to stream kickers and defenses throughout the year, and at time of draft doesn't really matter. All I'm looking for in the draft is somebody later in the draft as a defense who has a good schedule to open, a favorable matchup, they start at home, something of that nature would be great. I haven't looked too far into it right now. The NFL schedules just came out. But, that's basically what I'm looking for when I'm selecting a defense in drafts, because throughout the year, I'm going to have 10, 12 different defenses throughout the year, right? So there's strategy within the season for picking up defenses, which we talk about, throughout the season. But at time of draft, I'm just looking for somebody with a decent matchup to open the season. I'm not looking to get an elite level defense and play them all year, because I don't want to spend my 9th round pick on the Jags or the Rams,
Yeah, I tend to absolutely agree with you. I'm looking up the 2019 schedule here.
So while you're doing that, I'll read my team back for those on podcast. Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, James Conner, Robert Woods, Jarvis Landry, Damian Williams, Dante Pettis, Starling Shepard, Jimmy Garoppolo, OJ Howard, Julian Edelman, DK Metcalf, and Ben Roethlisberger. Not a bad lineup. I don't love that I started with 3 running backs, but I do think that they offer a ton of upside and a lot of flex. If I were to play this team, I would probably end up trading one of those 3. Maybe someone who has a great start to the year and try to get myself a stud wide receiver. But I think for where I had David Johnson with the run of Wide receivers, let's see. From Christian McCaffrey to David Johnson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers went between those picks. So it's just there's not a whole lot of depth there in those top tier guys. So I do think I made the right decision, but ultimately it would have been nice to get a stud wide receiver.
Yeah, I can't find the NFL schedule out at all, so I don't think it's actually released.
Well, I know
Either
it is
way,
because the Bears and the
I'll tell you-
Packers opened the NFL season.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Anyway, so my team is Melvin Gordon, Dalvin Cook, Zach Ertz, Brandon Cooks, Devonta Freeman, Tyler Boyd, Robbie Anderson, Marvin Jones, Duke Johnson, Jameis Winston, Devin Funches, Vance McDonald, Matt Stafford, and New Orleans D with Mason Crosby.
Is there anything that you regret from this draft or things you would do differently? Do you like taking Zach Ertz in the back of the third? Or do you wish that you had have got, somebody else?
I don't mind it. I was looking at Aaron Jones and probably going running back to start. But honestly, the difference between Aaron Jones next season and what Devonta Freeman could be isn't so substantial that it's a 2-round gap. Like you said, I think Devonta Freeman's going to climb up 1.5 rounds. So I don't expect to have that kind of value in the late 5th. I do wish I had a stud wide receiver, but just nothing really. I could have got Antonio Brown in the 2nd round. I was really hoping for.
Yeah, if I was you, I might have considered going like T.Y. Hilton, Brandon Cooks. That there's a possibility that those three teams between you and your next pick, they might have taken Zach Ertz with one of their two. So you probably would have got T.Y. and Brandon Cooks. But there's also an argument to be made that at the end of the year, T.Y. Hilton and Zach Ertz could have very comparable seasons. And with the position scarcity for Zach Ertz at tight end, it could very well be a really good pick. So you're sort of getting points in different areas. You're structuring your team differently. But I might have gone Hilton Cooks.
Yeah.
But who knows, right? But this is why you do mock drafts, because it's good to play and see.
This is exactly why, and it's nice.
Yeah, like I don't love my receiving core going running back start, but it is good to note. But you don't win your season at the draft. There's a whole lot more to fantasy football, but these are sort of the things that we think about when we draft. So you're going to see plenty more of these coming throughout the off season. Especially when we get into July and August, really getting into that draft season. But yeah, it's a short one today, but hopefully a good one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I think Landon and I will catch you next time. Landon, you want to hit him with the outro?
Yeah, don't let us know on Twitter, Instagram, who won this draft. I think it's pretty obvious that I won. But Mackenzie made a decent point. He's got Christian McCaffrey. That's a pretty solid pick. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at the Saturday Morning Snap. Check out our Twitters. And have a great week. We're coming at you late, but I hope everyone has a great week and is excited for the Masters. And then we're getting inching closer to the NFL draft. It's probably my favorite time of the year besides like fantasy draft season.
And wherever you guys are listening, if you could jump over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, we would sincerely appreciate it. We want to make this podcast the best listening experience for you as the listener, and we just need to know how we're doing. So go over, rate, review. We'd love to hear from you.
Take care, Mac. Have a good week.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at SMS_fantasy. Support this independent podcast at patreon.com/SaturdayMorningSnap.